की जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय श्री गौर निताय की शिला प्रभुपाद की शिला गुरुदेव की और परमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नाष्टप्रयेष भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवते सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। So today we'll be reading from Canto 4, Chapter 24, verse 37. Swarga apavarga dvaraya. Swarga apavarga dvaraya. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Namo hiranya viryaya. Namo hiranya viryaya. Cātur-hotraya tantave. Cātur-hotraya tantave. Swarga apavarga dvaraya. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Namo hiranya viryaya. Cātur-hotraya tantave. Swarga apavarga dvaraya. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Namo hiranya viryaya. Cātur-hotraya tantave. Swarga apavarga dvaraya. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Namo hiranya viryaya. Cātur-hotraya tantave. Swarga apavarga dvaraya. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Namo hiranya viryaya. Cātur-hotraya tantave. Swarga apavarga dvaraya. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Namo hiranya viryaya. Cātur-hotraya tantave. Swarga apavarga dvaraya. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Namo hiranya viryaya. Cātur-hotraya tantave. Swarga apavarga dvaraya. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Namo hiranya viryaya. Cātur-hotraya tantave. Thank you. Synonyms: Swarga, heavenly planets. Apavarga, the path of liberation, Dvaraya, unto the door of, Ityam, eternally, Suchi Sade, unto the most purified, Namaha, my obeisances unto you, Namaha, my obeisances, Hiranya, gold, Viryaya, semen, cātur-hotraya, the Vedic sacrifices of the name, Tantave, unto one who expands. Translation: My Lord, O Aniruddha, you are the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. You are always within the pure heart of the living entity. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. You are the possessor of semen, which is like gold, and thus, in the form of fire, you help the Vedic sacrifices. Beginning with cātur-hotra, therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. Purport: the word Svarga indicates a position in the higher or heavenly planetary systems, and the word Apavarga means liberation. Those who are attached to the karma kandya activities described in the Vedas are actually entangled in the three modes of material nature. The Bhagavad Gita therefore says that one should be above the dominion of fruitive activities. There are different kinds of liberation or mukti. The best mukti is the engagement in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Not only does Lord Aniruddha help fruitive actors by elevating them to higher planetary systems, but he also helps the devotee engage in devotional service by dint of his inexhaustible energy. Just as the heat is the source of material energy, the inspiration of Lord Aniruddha is the energy by which one can engage in executing devotional service. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsham Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We welcome you all to today's Bhagavatam class. So today we'll see how Lord Shiva, one of the great Mahajans, teaches that real liberation comes only through devotion to the Supreme Person. And in here, the Supreme Person is referred to as Aniruddha, expansion of Lord Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada starts by saying that, or Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada translates to say that the conditioned souls in this material world are bonded by two root causes. What are they? One is Ichcha and the other one is Dvesha. Ichcha means desire and Dvesha means Hatred. So, the two things that actually binds us to this material world is desire and hatred. Desire to what? Desire to something which gives happiness, and hatred to something which doesn't. Right? So we can see that, let's go through this verse which actually brings up that point. That's in Bhagavad Gita 7.27. Icha dvesha samuttena dvanda mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. The translation by Srila Prabhupada goes, O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities that arise from desire and hate. So we can see that many of the people in this material world are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They question why. Why Krishna? Why God? Right? So it is supposed to be like that. Why? Because that's the nature of this world. We are supposed to be envious. It seems we are supposed to be envious. That's how it is. So it is abnormal if we are turning towards Supreme Personality of Godhead and we are loving Him. Right? So that's why we can find that so many people are having that hatred and they are having that desire to attain stuff. Right? So Srila Prabhupada explains that when the living entity come in contact with this material world, then they get attracted towards this desire and they get attracted towards the hatred. Because otherwise, when we are with Krishna, then our only desire was to serve Him. And where's the point of having hatred towards anybody? Because everyone is so focused on serving the Supreme, didn't have any of those thoughts. But when we came in contact to this material world, that's when we wanted, okay, I want to have a separate home. I want to have a separate car for myself. Then, so on and so forth. Attachments to things that we start liking became more. Then we had our choices. Okay, I don't like this kind of dress, or I don't like those kind of cars. I have my preference. I have my brands, things like that. So, desire and hatred. And because of this dualities, Prabhupada says, we could give more examples of desire and hatred, I thought. So, what could be an example? For example, if a teacher says, I only like to give class to those people whom I like. Huh? That is, I take pleasure in giving class to whomever I like. But if they challenge me with questions, then I won't take class for them. So that is duality, right? I like to have pleasant, but I hate to have unpleasant scenarios. So that is duality. Similarly, if a student says, I like to do these things, but I don't like to do my assignments. Again, dualities, like and dislike. Desire for having attachment to pleasant things and hatred towards things that are unpleasant. So those are dualities. Anything else that we think of? Pleasant and unpleasant. Yeah. Yeah. Some people don't like khichdi, yeah? They like puri, potato, sabji. Every day can we eat puri, potato, sabji? Every day can we enjoy without doing homework? Every day can we only give class to our favorites? No, right? Yeah, few more examples, please. Yeah, yeah. I don't like chanting. I just like coming to temple. Preference, likes and dislikes. Yeah, correct. I like only, cold weather. I don't like summer. Yes, dualities. You had some point, Dipti. You like going outside but don't like doing certain things? Yes. Yeah. Again, likes and dislikes. Chastisement. Very good. Yes. So you like finishing your studies quickly so you can do other stuff. So where's the dislike there? So you don't like doing studies so you can do other stuff, right? So that's the liking and disliking. Not that you always do that, I'm just saying. Yeah, I wanted to repeat Prabhu's point. Prabhu, can you repeat? Praises you. Huh. So Prabhu said that he likes if somebody praises me, but if somebody chastises, then he doesn't like. Similar for most of us, not just for Prabhu, but yeah. So these are, we have to agree, no? It's fact. So most of the time, we are dwindling between these dualities. Because we are conditioned like that. We like to be praised. We dislike to be chastised. We like to enjoy, watch, something on the iPad or anything, but we don't like doing homework. I would like, I would not, if I say that I don't want to sing but just give class, then it means that I'm giving preference because I don't like to sing. Or then I'm saying, okay, I just like to take class. Can I do that? Things like that. There is always dualities. And that's what material nature is there for. Because it always shows us the dualities, but we have to go above it and cross it so to get closer to Gopinath. So the scenario, okay, there's another example which is given. So if somebody in a mental asylum or a insane asylum, a man thinks, I am Napoleon, I am Alexander the Great, I am George Bush, I am Obama. Is it true? These are that he is identifying to false personalities. Is it them? No. Nobody is George Bush sitting in an asylum, right? Nobody is Obama sitting there. But they think of them. They identify falsely to those identities. So what happens? They think that they are the one controlling the universe. Because in their mind, they think that I have the power, I can do certain things. But in actuality, it's not their ideal position. It's their imagination. So how do we get rid of all this false identification? How do we come out of this conditioned nature? Through bhakti. One can transcend these dualities by surrendering oneself to Supreme Personality of Godhead and by doing service. So how does real sanity come in? If we remember our eternal identity in relationship to Krishna. What is our eternal identity? Being the servant of Krishna. So when we start doing service, then our likes and dislikes become non-different. So when we start eating prasad, okay, first we might have preference of puri and masal, and khichdi might be a dislike. But then over a period of time, people might relish khichdi more and not puri. Then they become equal. Then they're like, okay, whatever you give me, then I'm okay with that. And sometimes some people are, even summer and winter, for people who are traveling, they take it, in the same way. They don't distinguish, okay, heat or cold, pain or not pain. They take it uniformly, whether you have to do the homework or not do the homework. Whether somebody is challenging you, whether somebody is not challenging you, I'll still give my presentation. So then we are coming out of our conditioned nature. Isn't that growth? Isn't that advancement? Then we don't have a liking towards somebody. Then we don't have a dislike towards somebody. So then we are friend towards anybody. Then there's no non-enviousness. Then we are not unfriendly. Whether it's a good teacher or a bad teacher, the student still learns. So that's acceptance. Right? So that's advancement. So, coming to the point where Krishna teaches how we are all in our position serving the Lord. So who are we? We have to identify ourselves as soul, surrendering to the super soul. Right? So next point comes where we have to identify ourselves as a soul. And is it only now that we are, individuals and we are surrendering? We are always individual soul, right? In eternity, we are this individual. We are this distinct person. Some say, Mayavad say, no, I'm, one among, I become one with God. I am God. There's people who identify falsely in that asylum. They think that I'm the controller, I'm God, I can do anything. So if I'm God, then who is God? So Prabhupada teaches that we are distinct person, we are separate from God. So if somebody says, I'm one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, uh, Krishna won't retort if you hit him with a rod or anything, right? Because he's all powerful, he can bear anything. But if I hit you with a chair or something, you'll be like, hey, why are you hitting me? It means you're conscious, you're distinct, right? You're an individual. Krishna is super soul. So the verse which actually says this is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 12. Natvam evaham jatunasam, natvam neme janadipa, na chaiva na bhavishyamam, bhavishya sarve vayam ataparam. Never was there a time when I need not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of them cease to be. So when Krishna is teaching in the battlefield, he is saying, all these kings that you are fearing to kill in the battlefield, they were always there. It is by my desire, or it is because of what it is, you have to kill them in the battlefield, and they'll all come to me. But they were all individual souls, and they will continue to be. So this is where we identify ourselves. Krishna teaches us that we are always been as a soul eternally, and we are a distinct person. So another thing that we have to see is we are different from what we are seeing. So I see something, right? I'm different from the person I'm seeing. Let's say, for example, I'm seeing the computer, I'm working on it. Then I'm like, I'm different, the computer is different, so we are two different people. So the make of me, the way in which I see, it is through the eyes, and the object that I am seeing is the computer. It's two different things. I am two different things, but I don't know how I am able to see. The operation that happens as me as a person seeing, I don't know about it. I'm just seeing. We don't know about the complexities involved in how I am able to see. Similarly, the computer which operates and gives whatever necessary information I give, I'm just operating it. But I don't know how it is made up of. The operations or the logic behind it, I don't know. So who knows? There's a ultimate authority. Right? So similarly, you have to distinguish between the seer and the seen, the soul and the super soul. Then there is a distinction. So these are some basic points which we need to know before we get into today's verse. And in today's verse we see that Lord Shiva is glorifying Lord Aniruddha. He says Aniruddha is a Tattva expression, Vishnu Tattva expansion, and Aniruddha is none other than Lord Vishnu. And he, during this, he shows the individual souls the path back home to the higher planets. And we are accepting the authority of Lord Shiva here in this verse, similar to how we have accepted the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Lord Shiva, being the highest Mahajan, is telling us whom we are supposed to follow. So we humbly and submissively accept that. Right? So in that sense, so we follow what Shiva is saying, and we follow what Lord Aniruddha is showing us. And in this verse we also see that Lord Aniruddha is there in every living entity's heart. And how do we attain to Lord Aniruddha? By the following the process of yoga. And if one does yoga to perfection, then one can realize Aniruddha within oneself. So like this, we have been taught, okay, this is the process to attain heavenly planets. But is that enough for devotees? And devotees know that Krishna has taught us that just like, people living in Australia want to go and visit Hawaiian Islands, Like some people, because of so much of suffering, they feel, okay, if I go to heavenly planets, that's enough for me. But what happens after their, good karma finishes? They come back, right? But for a devotee, one understands that we want to always be in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not that for some time I want to go enjoy and then come back. No. So hence, one aspires to go even above that heavenly planets. But here, what Shiva is teaching is that Aniruddha can be our gatekeeper for entering into heavenly planets. But if one has the desire to continuously engage in devotional service and continuously serve the Lord, and Aniruddha will be instrumental for us to getting that real liberation. And hence we can become Krishna consciousness, which is the ultimate goal of life, by following Lord Aniruddha. So in this verse we saw about imaginary liberation, and we are also seeing about real liberation. Real liberation means, liberation is attained by one who is continuously serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas false liberation means one thinks that I know everything, I am the controller, I am God, and one thinks I can take control of everything, and one thinks that they can get rid of the material suffering by just rejecting that particular choice. If they don't like it, if they reject it, they think they are happy. But is that happiness? No. So the example or the verse which Srila Prabhupada gives for quoting the real liberation is Ye anya arvindaksha vimukta maninas tvai ashta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya. So, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances try to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. Because they have no regard for your lotus feet, they fall down from their imagined superiority again into material existence. So demigods in this verse say that this kind of material liberation will not help one. What actually will help is the real liberation. And how do we get it? By not having the like and dislike, or not having those dualities. And we see Krishna as a person and we serve him accordingly, understanding his likes and dislikes, not our likes and dislikes, right? So Lord Shiva is giving, as a guru, is giving us facts, and he is teaching us all progress comes in our life by the Supreme Person. And in the Gita also it is given. So what do we, as devotees, what do we need to cultivate within us so we stick to the process of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What is that important ingredient that we need? So what is that important ingredient that we need? So we start serving Krishna day in and day out. Love. What else? Devotion. And for having that love, for having that devotion, what is important? Gratitude, humility. We have something that non-devotees don't have on Krishna. What is that? Surrender. Faith, right? So we need to have that faith. To cultivate that faith, we are endeavoring day in and day out. Now we might have some little faith, but that if Shraddha is not there, if we don't continue to have more faith, then how do we get that faith? In the association of devotees. If we are in association of Mayavadis, then we start thinking we are God, we are controllers, right? Sometimes we might see this in ourselves also. As practicing devotees, we also think at times I can control some things, I can manage these things, I can get these things done. But Krishna will remind us, hey, you can't do. You need my help. Or we'll ask, a devotee will tell us, sorry, you depend on Krishna, then you will be able to achieve so and so. Right? So this verse tells us who has faith. Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 verse 47 says, Yoginamapi sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yuktitamo mataha. And of all yogis, the one with great faith always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and render transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united to me in yoga and is highest of all. If one does not have faith, then what is it? What is there, right? We are yet another person in this world. We just follow the crowd. We just follow our mind. But if we have faith, then we surrender to an authority. Then we surrender to a spiritual master. Then we surrender to Srila Prabhupada. Then, which again helps us to submit to Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. And those without faith, so Bhagavad Gita again describes in chapter 9.3, Ashraddha dhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsare vartmani. Translation goes, those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So then they have to follow the samsara if one doesn't have faith. So that is why, even though you might find people outside enjoying, they might have the best of the best in their life, the devotees might not have anything, they might just have Krishna. But ultimately we'll go back home, back to Godhead. But what do non-devotees have to do, or prospective devotees have to do? They'll have to, because they don't have faith in Krishna, they'll have to come back in the cycle of birth and death. So what happens when they come back to the cycle of birth and death? They have to suffer, right? So faithless people cannot get liberation, because suffering will be there in the samsara. Birth and death, when they come back, they will have to suffer. So if we have to get perfection in our devotional service, if we have to get the real liberation, so we have to constantly improve our service towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and follow in the footsteps of acharyas. Right? The example of, let's see a verse which talks about imaginary liberation. There's a verse in Bhagavatam 4:29-45. The demigods say, Devata uchu, Naitat param tattvam amushya dehinam maya rachita shubha nivriterhi. So the demigod said, the imagined liberation for the conditioned soul conceived by the mental speculation cannot be considered the ultimate truth, because such liberation arises from material imagination. It brings no auspiciousness. The so-called liberation conceived by those who still in the bodily concept of life is ultimately useless. Prabhupada gives an example for understanding this. He says, see, a prisoner who's living in the cell thinks he's free. He's liberated. He doesn't have suffering, because time to time he gets food, time to time he gets water, and then he gets to sleep in time. Everything is arranged pakka. But is he free? Is he liberated? No. He still is under the authority of the controller, prison controller, right? So similarly, sometimes, even though we are in material world, we think, okay, I have everything, luxuries in my life, I'm enjoying. So then what happens? We start becoming very complacent. Then we are in an imaginary world, we are in illusion. Most of us in the material world are confused. We don't know what is right, what is wrong. Hence we have to follow authority. And hence Prabhupada says that a jnani or an impersonalist who says, I am God, I am Brahman, I am liberated, but are still in the control of the material modes. So they are not actually having real liberation, but they are in imaginary liberation. Again, another example, a skybird thinks, okay, I will fly so high that there's no problem, that nobody can see me, But at some point it has to come down, no, for food, for shelter. How much can it fly and, go away from misery? This is our position also. We try to run away from problem, from problem. Just like how Arjuna didn't want to face the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He didn't want to face his family and, his close relatives or gurus being killed by him. He wanted to escape, but Arjuna said, no, you fight. It's your duty. Similarly, to attain real liberation also, we have to be in alignment with Supreme Personality of Godhead and start serving Him. And then we'll be able to get the real liberation. True freedom is not something one can imagine and one can get it. Like how the prisoner is thinking, okay, I can escape. Or the bird is thinking, okay, I can fly high and then I can escape. No. We have to come back, we have to face it. And who is giving us that support? Lord Aniruddha. Just as heat is giving energy for all living entities in this world, Lord Aniruddha gives us the inspiration for executing our devotional service to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And hence Lord Shiva says, in your yoga, think about Lord Aniruddha. In your execution of devotional service, get help from Lord Aniruddha and execute your devotional service. So again, when we follow such practices, we need to have an authority. Not just, okay, somebody said, okay, this is the person whom I should follow, so I blindly follow. No. Because we are in what age? We are in the age of darkness and ignorance. We have to use our intelligence, ask the right questions, clear all our doubts, identify who is the right authority, and once we understand who is the right authority, then we fully submit and follow in their direction. But until then, we have to keep finding, inquiring and understanding who is our true authority. Some people do blind following, right? There is an opposite side also for them. Some people do blind doubting. Anything and everyone, people will start doubting. Oh, your authority? What happened? No, I can't follow you. Sorry. Because of these reasons. If, okay, there's some other change in the management, then also, okay, it's very hard to follow you. So, they don't want to follow any authority. Which means they don't want to follow Guru or Krishna, for that matter. So, it is blind doubting. One angle is blind faith in anybody and everybody. One angle is blind doubting anything and everybody. So, Krishna says, take your time, find the right person, surrender yourself to the right Guru, who can ultimately bring you back to me. And that is what we are following here. We are following Lord Shiva in Srimad Bhagavatam, who is telling us to follow Lord Aniruddha to execute our devotional activities nicely, so we can go back to Godhead. And the important way in which to execute our duties to Lord Aniruddha is, or to please Aniruddha is, by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and also by serving the devotees of the Lord. So this is how we can progress in our path. So I'd like to end by saying, see, our journey from delusion to devotion begins when we replace that enviousness with some faith and surrender. So if we stop having the dualities, if we accept like and dislike in an equal fashion, then if we start having faith in Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we'll be able to accept whatever He is sending us, whether it might be hot or whether it might be cold, we'll be able to accept and progress in our path. So that faith is essential for our real liberation. So let us thank Lord Shiva for having given us this lesson. So we are able to follow in his footsteps and glorify Lord Aniruddha in the form of chanting and also in the form of executing our devotional service from our heart, not superficially. Right? All right. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, comments, I'm happy to hear. Yeah, they're all expansions of Krishna. So Balaram is also an expansion, right? Plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. So we in each, for it's basically like for an LKG student, what do you give? Knowledge of what he can understand, right? For a college student, you can go a bit more higher. So similarly, for somebody who's doing PhD, I mean, more than that, somebody who's working with the experience, then it's something more. So for people who want to go to heavenly planets, we are talking about the Vishnu's plenary expansion, Lord Aniruddha. But if you want to directly serve Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if you want to get guidance from Lord Balaram, so be it. So where you want to place yourself and you want to progress, ultimately you have to progress, that's all. More advanced, yeah. Yeah. That's my understanding. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Correct. So Prabhu's question is, sometimes we put blind faith in following somebody, sometimes we doubt somebody at times, and sometimes we don't put our intelligence enough to identify. So what is the balance? How do we identify who's the right person to follow? Right? We all follow Srila Prabhupada. Why? Because he produced results. So if a university produces good students, then we follow, go to that university. Everybody will want to go to that university. So if you see a particular teacher is producing nice students who are respectful, who are kind, who are compassionate, who are loving and doing service for the pleasure of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, then you follow a teacher who is producing such students. But if you don't see that happening, rather if one sees, like if you're seeing that student is having ego or anger or too much to handle, anxious, then we might not follow such teacher who's producing such a student. So don't have to blindly follow. Right? All right. Thank you. Hare Krishna.